Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6, where we're getting you the day's top developing stories. I'm Tracy Shilji and here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeks greater cohesion in international response to disasters, outlines 10-point agenda to renew efforts to reduce disaster risk. GST Council finalizes 4-tier structure with tax slabs of 5, 12, 18 and 28%. Zero tax rate to apply to 50% of the items in the Consumer Price Index basket. Last rites of ex-serviceman Ram Kishan Grewal is held in Bhiwani in Haryana. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal announces 1 crore rupees compensation to the family, while opposition leaders criticize government over the OROP issue. Warring members of Samajwadi Party family share the stage in Uttar Pradesh. Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadavs starts his Vikas Rath Yatra to highlight the government's achievements. And in his first recording in almost a year, Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi issues a rallying cry against Iraqi forces advancing on Mosul, calls on Iraqis to defend the city against the army. Top story, the GST Council today decided on a 4-tier rate structure for goods and services tax regime. According to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, the tax slabs will be 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. Zero tax rate will apply to 50% of the items in the Consumer Price Index basket. These will include food grains used by the common man. 5% duty will be levied on items of mass consumption, while the 2 standard rates of 12 and 18% will apply to other goods. Items taxed at 30 to 31%, which is excise plus VAT, will be taxed at 28%. Meanwhile, the other big story we've been tracking since yesterday, ex-serviceman Ram Kishan Grewal, who committed suicide on Tuesday over the issue of 1 rank, 1 pension, was cremated today amid tight security. The last rites took place amid the presence of many politicians, including Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. Here's a report.
Bamla, a small village 20 kilometers from Bhiwani district, became the center of the OROP controversy on Thursday. 70-year-old Ram Kishan Grewal, an ex-serviceman who committed suicide on Tuesday in the national capital, was a former sarpanch of this village. His last rites were conducted amid tight security in the presence of several politicians, including Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal.
उनके गांव जा रहे हैं हम लोग राम किशन जी का आज अंतिम संस्कार है तो उनके परिवार से वहां मिलके आएंगे कल तो यहां तो दिल्ली में तो इन लोगों ने मिलने नहीं दिया
and they've had a terrible evening yesterday and they're very disturbed with the way they were handled yesterday, with the kind of statements which are being made. They are not speaking about it on camera, but that took me, they're very, very upset. So as I said, it's a double grieving for them.
We are with the family and we are with the ex-servicemen, and we implore upon the government to pay heed to what the ex-servicemen and what the family is saying.
Other opposition parties also joined in criticizing the government on the OROP issue.
Understand what is the justification for stopping them from meeting the relatives of the deceased. If they are coming forward as an excuse that law and order problem, then it is their own failure. What is the law and order problem? You see, if in a public place, if some political leaders, representatives of the people, members of parliament, Rahul Gandhi, Ghulam Nabi Azad, Scindia, they are all members of parliament. You must have some respect for them. They represent people. Now, if they are prevented from entering public place, they are prevented from meeting aggrieved people, and you say that it is because of law and order.
The government, however, put up a strong defense, saying it had implemented OROP as promised, while previous governments had failed to do so. But Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar also conceded that there was some technical problem in the dispersal process, which will be sorted out soon.
अभी 1 लाख लोगों को इसका पूरा बेनिफिट मिलना बाकी है और उसमें थोड़ी टेक्निकल पेपर की डिफिकल्टी है, वो सब पूरी अगले 1-2 महीने में हम खत्म करेंगे।
वो कांग्रेस के वर्कर थे, कांग्रेस की टिकट पर सरपंच बने हुए थे, लेकिन हमारे सैनिक थे। उनके निधन पर दुख है। कोई भी अगर आत्महत्या करता है तो उसके ऊपर दुख होता है, लेकिन जो समस्याएं उनकी निकल कर आ रही है वो वन रैंक वन पेंशन से ताल्लुक नहीं रखती थी।
Meanwhile, Delhi and Haryana governments announced an ex gratia of 1 crore and 10 lakh rupees each for Grewal's family members. But that may not be the end of war of words between the government and the opposition on the OROP issue. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV.
In fact, Vishal Dahiya is joining us from the newsroom at the moment. He, of course, has been tracking the story since yesterday, in fact, the day before as well, and today too. Vishal, give us a sense really on the politics around this that we are seeing with, Manohar Parrikar, the defense minister himself, saying that within 2 months, we will see some relief. We will see OROP finally getting through. And remember the timing, of course, just 2 weeks before winter session. It's all very crucial at this point. All right, we seem to be having a problem with Vishal. Vishal, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Tracy.
Okay. Vishal, I was talking about the politics really about surrounding this entire issue. Today, of course, we did see, the kind of the melee or the kind of procession that we saw of so many political leaders really going to that little village in Bhiwani. But apart from that, the timing also very crucial with the winter session around the corner.
Well, yes, you're right. The mood at Grewal's, a native village was somber. Not only today, but since day before yesterday when the news of his suicide had come in. And obviously, with so many politicians being present out there and with, such security paraphernalia and both sides, the government and the opposition engaging in a strong verbal duel on the issue of OROP and on this specific case of suicide as well. Clearly, it was a sort of a mixed emotion at that particular side. But yes, you put it right in the second part of your question. It assumes a lot of significance just simply because of the fact that another 12 days to go before the winter session begins, and the opposition at this point in time, specifically the Congress, would definitely not want to let go of this particular handle through which they can corner the government. And the kind of support which the main opposition party, Congress, seems to be getting from other smaller opposition parties is also very significant. There are, not many issues on which all opposition parties see eye to eye and can be seen on a common platform. The last one was the issue of land acquisition ordinance. Similarly, this time around also, it seems that if at all this kind of verbal confrontation between the government and the opposition continues at the same pitch as it is right now, then this entire issue seems to be ready for being resonated inside the parliament, inside the both houses in the winter session as well. But then there are 12 days to go,
yes.
Enough time for the government to go ahead and put forth their point of view and do whatever damage control they want to do on this front. We have clearly seen from the government side the statements which are coming in.
Yes.
The government is clarifying that they have implemented OROP in a phased manner. There are at least 1 lakh ex-servicemen who are yet to get the benefit, but then that is because of some technical glitches, and that's also the defense minister says will be taken care of very soon. But as far as this particular suicide case is concerned of ex-serviceman Subedar Ramkrishnan Grewal, the ruling party members are casting doubts over the reason behind his committing suicide. So that is one point which might again flare up this confrontation between the opposition and the
Absolutely,
government.
and that coming in total bad taste if you look at it, because you already have the retired army general, you've got General VK Singh, of course, saying that the mental stability of this person needs to be questioned, needs to be looked into. That was, of course, in bad taste. Apart from that, what they're also now trying to, there are certain reports now claiming that perhaps the late Subedar Grewal was perhaps, a Congress person, was perhaps a Congress party worker as well. And that, of course, it seems, at least at this time, in a time of mourning really for the family, it all seems to be in bad taste.
Well, he was indeed Sarpanch of his village from 2005 to 2010, which happens to be the period during which the Congress party was in power in the state of Haryana. So obviously, some sort of insinuation from some members of the ruling party, coming out that yes, he was in some way or the other associated with the Congress party,
Yes.
and then questions being raised on the reasons behind his suicide as well. That is where I'm saying that. This particular part of this debate now might be the reason behind the opposition sort of upping the ante against the government, charging them or rather criticizing them for speaking against the soldiers, against the ex-servicemen, against the armed forces, and not doing what the government should do for the benefit of armed forces or the soldiers. And the government will definitely put up a lot of facts and figures
Yes.
in its defense. So this is something which is likely to continue for at least next 10 to 12 days. And then when the session begins, we'll have to see whether or not the issue will still have that much steam that the opposition can take it forward to corner the government on the floor of the House.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Vishal, thanks so much for joining us on that story.
Ministers responsible for disaster risk reduction in 61 countries met in New Delhi for a 3-day Asian Ministerial Conference on disaster risk reduction. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled a 10-point disaster risk reduction plan that emphasizes more investment in risk mapping and a network of universities to work on disaster issues. Prime Minister also affirmed that India is ready to share its space technology and resources with any country to deal with disasters across the globe.
All development sector must imbibe the principles of disaster risk management. This will ensure that all development projects, airports, roads, canals, hospitals, bridges, are built to appropriate standards and contribute to the resilience of communities they seek to serve.
Pointing out that women are disproportionately affected by disasters, Prime Minister Modi underscored the need for greater involvement and leadership by them in disaster risk management. He said there's a need to train a large number of women volunteers to support special needs of women affected by disasters.
We need women engineers, masons, and building artisans supporting reconstruction, and women self-help groups assisting livelihood recovery.
The conference will adopt the Asian Regional Plan for implementation of the Sendai Framework endorsed by the Asian countries. Sendai Framework is the first major agreement of the post-2015 development agenda and identifies targets and priority action areas towards reducing disasters. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
President Pranab Mukherjee today met Nepalese Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal or Prachanda in Kathmandu. Bilateral issues were discussed during the talks. President Mukherjee also urged Nepal to involve all stakeholders in the process of building democracy. He later visited the Pashupatinath temple.
On the second day of his 3-day Nepal visit, President Pranab Mukherjee met Nepalese Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda. Both leaders held wide-ranging talks on issues of mutual interest. India reiterated its commitment to rebuild 50,000 houses in Nepal.
Particularly, I think one sector which came up for some discussion in detail was housing, because we have a commitment from Indian side to support the reconstruction of 50,000 houses. So the fact that this government in Nepal has started that process, the payments have started to be made to beneficiaries, and the whole housing reconstruction has started, was viewed very positively.
President Mukherjee also underlined the need to involve every section of the Nepalese society as equal stakeholders in the process of building democracy. His statement was an apparent reference to the political unrest over a new constitution that strained India-Nepal ties.
The message was that the Indian experience showed that an inclusive constitution that carried all sections of the people, where all stakeholders felt that they had that their interests and views were factored in. This was an experience that we felt Nepal could perhaps look at, and we were very fully supportive of the constitutional process that the present government is pushing.
Following the bilateral meeting, the President performed a special puja at the Pashupatinath temple. On Friday, the President will visit the Janaki temple in Janakpur, an important city in the Madhesi region of Nepal. The visit to the region is symbolic of India's special ties with the plains of Nepal and will strengthen its commitment to Nepal's diverse polity. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The first family of the UP government involved in a bitter power tussle came together in Lucknow today to flag off Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav's Vikas Rath Yatra, while the election campaign bus witnessed technical snags after barely covering a kilometre polls. Warring factions of the Samajwadi Party on Thursday came together to kick off the first phase of Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav's election campaign. The Vikas Rath Yatra, that will highlight achievements during the Samajwadi Party's tenure, was flagged off by Party Chief Mulayam Singh Yadav in the presence of State Party Chief Shivpal Yadav in Lucknow. The presence of Mulayam, Shivpal and Akhilesh on one platform comes just days after the bitter acrimony in the Yadav clan.
सेकुलर सरकार, गरीबों की सरकार, किसानों की सरकार, अभी समाजवादी पेंशन दी है, बड़ी संख्या में महिलाओं की मदद हुई है. आने वाले समय में कोई भी महिला नहीं छूटेगी जिसको समाजवादी पेंशन हम न दे पाए.
Akhilesh also clarified that he was not aware of any coalition moves ahead of the UP polls. He said a final decision on a likely alliance will be taken by Mulayam Singh. Speculations about a grand alliance in the state gained ground after Congress election strategist Prashant Kishore recently met Mulayam Singh Yadav in Delhi.
मैं समझता हूं नेताजी तय करेंगे कि गठबंधन किस रूप से बनेगा और जब गठबंधन होगा कौन पाएगा कौन खोएगा ये नेताजी आकलन करेंगे. अभी इस पे कह पाना मुश्किल है. नेताजी तय करेंगे कि क्या होना है आने वाले समय में.
Responding to questions about the prospects of an alliance, Shivpal Yadav said the party's Silver Jubilee celebration on Saturday will be attended by former Prime Minister H.D. Devagowda, RJD Chief Lalu Prasad, RLD Chief Ajit Singh, among others.
हमारी पूरी व्यवस्था हो चुकी है इस कार्यक्रम की और यहीं से संदेश जाएगा और पूरे देश में जो भी सेकुलर लोग हैं किसी भी कीमत में हम भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार उत्तर प्रदेश में नहीं बनने देंगे.
While Akhilesh is slated to travel 75 kilometers in Lucknow and Unnao in the first phase of the campaign, his Mercedes Rath developed a snag barely 1 kilometer into the Yatra. Akhilesh is now expected to restart his Rath Yatra again on Monday after the Samajwadi Party's Silver Jubilee celebration. With Panchanan Mishra, Bureau Inputs, Rajya Sabha TV. Food and Public Distribution Minister Ramvilas Paswan on Thursday informed that over 80 crore people are covered under the National Food Security Law across 36 states and union territories. He maintained that the law has been implemented across India from November with an annual subsidy of 1.4 lakh crore rupees. Paswan also disclosed that with Kerala and Tamil Nadu coming on board this month, the government has now covered the entire nation. Under the law, the government provides 5 kilograms of highly subsidized food grains per person per month at 1 to 3 rupees per kilogram. The ultra-cheap food welfare program will cover 50% of urban and 75% of rural areas across India. Parliament passed the food law in 2013.
आज हमें इस बात को बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि सभी 36 राज्यों में 1 नवंबर से खाद्य सुरक्षा कानून जो है लागू कर दिया गया है. पहले भी मतलब सिर्फ 2 राज्य बचे थे, तमिलनाडु और केरला, लेकिन हम लोगों ने उसमें थोड़ा हार्ड निर्णय लिया था और हमने कहा था कि यदि 1 नवंबर से फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट लागू नहीं होगा तो फिर हम बीपीएल को तो नहीं टच करेंगे, अंत्योदय को भी नहीं टच करेंगे, लेकिन जो एपीएल का जो प्राइस है उसको जो है हम बीपीएल हटा के जो एमएसपी का रेट है, एमएसपी के प्राइस के आधार पर हम देंगे.
Now, with pollution levels still high in New Delhi, Union Environment Minister Anil Madhav Dave on Thursday said that his ministry will soon issue an advisory to the states concerned on tackling air pollution. Dave said that he has asked his ministry to hold a secretarial meeting of the NCR states on Friday, following which he will hold meetings with all the state environment ministers and issue an advisory. The environment minister said that Diwali aggravated an already existing problem and that stricter rules need to be enforced to tackle air pollution. Delhi has been engulfed in a thick cover of pollutant-laden smog for the past few days, forcing residents to inhale severe quality air.
कल मैंने अपने सेक्रेटरी को कहा है तो सेक्रेटरी साहब कल सारे स्टेट सेक्रेटरीज की बैठक करेंगे आजू बाजू के राज्यों की। उसके बाद में मैं सारे मंत्रियों के साथ बैठ करके बात करूं और फिर हम एक सुझाव, एक एडवाइजरी, एक रोड मैप सबके सामने रखेंगे।
And here are more national news updates in Nationwide. Dasanglu Pul, wife of former Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Kaliko Pul, filed her nomination on Thursday for the November 19th by-polls to the Hayuliang Assembly constituency of the state. Dasanglu filed her nomination from the BJP. While scrutiny of papers will be done on Friday, the last date of withdrawal of candidature is the 5th of November. Counting of votes will be done on the 22nd of November. The seat fell vacant after the death of Kaliko Pul, who allegedly committed suicide in August this year. 4 labourers died and 13 others were injured on Thursday at the TDI unit of Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizers and Chemicals Limited in Bharuch district of Vadodara. The mishap took place on Wednesday night when mechanical failure in a chemical reactor caused leakage of the poisonous gas. A report has been filed and a high-level technical committee has been formed to investigate the incident. The Madras High Court pulled up the Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority over another case of illegal construction. The court directed the civic body to inspect the alleged unauthorized construction in a prime location in the city within 15 days. The plea was filed by 7 residents seeking action against the illegal construction by their neighbour. With a quick break here, we'll be back with the international news in a bit. Stay with us.
Cassava is planted at a spacing of 90 centimeter apart. This mini-set material that we developed, we have given a smaller spacing or a closer spacing. Small-scale farmer who doesn't have a large acreage. This is an ideal way of cultivation, and most of the technologies that we developed is actually benefiting them.
Watch Eureka with Dr. James George, Director, ICAR Central Tuber Crops Research Institute, Thiruvananthapuram, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Now, as the battle for Mosul rages on, the Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, in a recorded audio message in about a year since we last heard him, has asked the Iraqi forces, has in fact condemned the Iraqi forces and asked on the citizens to start on an offensive on their own to make sure that the army doesn't advance further into Mosul. Here are more details on that.
As Iraqi forces push for victory in Mosul, the Islamic State released an audio tape claiming to be that of its leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The authenticity of the recording has not been verified yet, but the voice on the audio expressed confidence in victory and called on Iraqis to defend the city against the army.
والحرب الشاملة والجهاد الكبير الذي تخوضه دولة الإسلام اليوم ما تزيدنا إن شاء الله إلا إيمانا ثابتا.
If true, it will be the first public message from Baghdadi in about a year and will dispel rumors of his death that have been circulating for years. In his first message since December 2015, Baghdadi also called on Islamic State fighters to invade Turkey. Baghdadi's whereabouts remain unknown, with some believing that he may be inside Mosul alongside IS fighters.
بالله وغزوها واجعلوا أمنها فزعا ورخاءها هلعا ثم أدرجوها في مناطق صراعكم الملتهبة. ويا أجناد الخلافة في أرض الشام، ها قد جاءكم الجندي التركي الكافر.
Meanwhile, Iraqi coalition forces continued their march in Mosul for several fronts, liberating several villages in the process. Hundreds of civilians fled from the recaptured village of Kokjali, fearing an Islamic State backlash.
ياخذوا مثلا مسوي شيء واذا ما مسوي شيء هم ياخذوه ما تعرف وين راح وين يجي ما ابدا ما تعرف ايش ما تقدر تخبر على اهلك ما تقدر تسولف. انا هذا من صار لي سنتين ونص هذه هنا وبيتنا هنا جو.
The fall of Mosul will mark the Islamic State's defeat in Iraq. The second largest city of Iraq was captured by the terrorists in 2014, and it was from here that the group's leader Baghdadi declared a caliphate that also spans parts of Syria. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Supreme Court appointed Lodha panel today instructed the BCCI to furnish the reports by accounting firm Deloitte on 4 state units as well as the undertaking submitted by the state affiliates. The report has pointed out mismanagement of funds and blatant governance by a handful of full member associations. The 4 states that are under scanner are Odisha, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir and Hyderabad. The panel has set the 8th of November as the deadline to submit the report. The panel also told the Indian Cricket Board that the proposed MOU between England and Wales Cricket Board and BCCI was not a part of the mandate and no directions can be issued on payments unless details are furnished. BCCI had sought directions from the committee about making the arrangements and payments for the visiting team during the bilateral series. And now let's get you through some more international news updates in Global Buzz. At least 20 people died and 50 others were injured in Pakistan after 2 passenger trains collided near the Landhi railway station in Karachi this morning. 3 bogies of the train were completely destroyed due to the collision. The incident took place when both the trains collided due to a wrong signal. According to reports, several people are still trapped under the wreckage. A US naval base in western Japan was briefly locked down today after reports of gunshots, but operations were soon back to normal with no evidence of an active shooter and no casualties. Deputy Public Affairs Officer for the US Naval Forces, Darren Wilson, said that gunshots were reported from a building on the base at Sasebo, and the base was put on lockdown as a precaution as the building was being checked by security. A former aide to South Korea's President Park Geun-hye has been detained by prosecutors. An Jong-bom is the second aide to be detained in a scandal which is threatening the president's position. An and Park's longtime friend and mentor Choi Soon-sil are expected of using their presidential connections to persuade corporations to fund, in fact, donations that they were involved with. Earlier on Monday, Choi Soon-sil was detained and is still being held. That's all we have for you on the news at 6. Thanks for joining us.